This podcast is not safe for work and will feature movie spoilers. It will feature scenes described of a graphic nature. It will contain language which most listeners may find offensive. Welcome to the podcast Under the Stairs. Hi everyone and welcome to the podcast Under the Stairs. This is one of those 88 Films Italian Collection series of reviews, and I'm your host Duncan, and please welcome, come in and welcome to our show. This is the very first episode of a brand new month. This is October, a month that you'll be getting an episode a day from Podcast Under the Stairs, and a lot of these have been pre-recorded and scheduled for release because I will be out of the country for half of it. I'm travelling across to Japan with my family, very excited for it, but didn't want to leave these hanging, so you're going to get a ton of content, and it all starts here. We're going to be looking at disc number 78 in the Italian collection from 88 Films today, One Little House on the Edge of the Park. This one here is directed by Ruggero Deodato, and it's disc number 78, released in a 4K UHD release, which was mind-blowing when I heard this Video Nasty was getting the 4K UHD treatment, but we'll see how that one pans out. As always on these reviews, there will be a mixture of spoilers, general conversation, talking about the print, the movie itself, my thoughts, you'll get a grade, and we'll also do a little bit of detail on the special features on the disc. But first and foremost, it's very important to get into actually the trailer for the movie, so you know what it is that we're reviewing. So here it comes. I'll be right back after this. And welcome back. So let's get you the details of what is actually on this copy here. I'm going to read from the back, which makes for great video content, I'm sure. If you're checking us out on the videos on the YouTubes, or the Spotifys, or the Anchors, if you're checking us out on the audio podcast formats, you don't have to see me struggle over names while reading tiny print from a box. Anyway, let's get into this one. It says, from notorious director Ruggero Deodato, who did Cannibal Holocaust, comes House at the Edge of the Park. When two lowlives gatecrash a party and are mocked by the posh hosts, they decide to get their revenge by subjecting their guests to various forms of torture and violence. Influenced by the likes of The Last House on the Left and being a forerunner to movies like Funny Games, House on the Edge of the Park is a classic video nasty era slice of Italian exploitation cinema, presented here in stunning 4K UHD, fully uncut for the first time ever. So that's fully uncut in the UK. It's probably worth putting that one out there. I don't think this movie was as severely cut in the US, and certainly there have been prints of this movie in the US which have been uncut. This is what you get in the box, so this is where it gets exciting. This feature includes a limited edition slipcase and A3 fold-out poster by artwork and done by Graham Humphreys, who we love, who back in the day did a poster for Podcast Under the Stairs. Booklet notes and new writings in the film by Sean Hogan. There's a brand new 4K remaster from the original negatives with Dolby Vision encoding, HDR10 Plus compatible, a 2.0 English LPCM mono, 2.0 Italian LPCM mono with English subtitles. You get audio commentary with David Flint and Adrian Smith, audio commentary with Zoe Smith and Rebecca McCallum. On the Edge, an interview with the late Ruggero Deodato, a true professional, an interview with Sergio Defisi, Gangi Park, an interview with Massimo Antonio Genghi, The Last House on the Edge of the Park, an interview with Ruggero Deodato and Giovanni Lobardo da Ris. You've got Genghi's House of Horror, theatrical trailer, reversible sleeve featuring the original poster artwork. Let's put this one down. Let's talk a little bit about the House on the Edge of the Park. So, movie I was kind of familiar with because I have a podcast that has pretty much reviewed every video nasty out there. Plus, it's just known because of its reputation. One, because it's directed by Ruggero Deodato, a guy who arguably owns the rights to maybe most prolific director on the video nasties list. And this one to me is right the fuck up there with some of the other titles on the list, most notably Cannibal Holocaust. Two, the fact it's David Hess in it, that has a big selling point as well. David Hess obviously being in Last House from the Left in this movie, being very much of a reimagining, let's go with that, because I don't like using the word rip-off of Last House on the Left. And then lastly, because it just holds a reputation as a particularly sleazy movie. Sleazy in the way that only Italian cinema really can do. When it's beautifully shot, it's scored superbly, but the stuff you're watching is grim as balls. So this one kind of falls into that. So, the movie itself, like I say, I've seen it before. It involves David Hess's character who initially rapes and murders a girl that he is apparently stalking on the road, and appears to get away with the crime. He works in a garage with a fairly simple-minded friend, and as they're getting ready to go out on the town cause mischief, an affluent couple appear with an issue with their car, and through conversation let slip that they're having this big posh party, and David Hess and his buddies should come along to that party. When they arrive, they are essentially mocked and taunted and teased into a position of actually showing their true colours of violence. Now this involves sexual torture, violence, rape, and other levels of sadistic torture, which the movie doesn't really pull back from. You're getting full frontal female nudity in a way which in 4K UHD can be very surprising if you've forgotten or you've seen this in a grubbier copy in the past. And yeah, like the movie moves along in a way where you genuinely think there's no hope for these to be honest, pretty reprehensible posh people. And then the kicker is revealed towards the end that they've actually been baited there all along, because the host of the party's sister was the one that was raped and murdered at the beginning, and they had to set things up in such a way that Hess and crew would act in the way that they have in order to make their killing on their property seem just to the police. And it kind of heads that way. David Hess ends up dying a pretty vicious death, including getting the old Robocop shot in the dick. And yeah, that's kind of the cliff notes of the movie overall. Ruggiero Deodato a really interesting filmmaker. Like, as grubby as this is, the cinematography is really, really, really good. The storytelling is a bit lax and some of the dialogue a bit trite, if I'm being honest with you. You're kind of just dealing with... It's interesting when you look at a movie like Last House on the Left. I think that movie has actually pretty snappy dialogue, notwithstanding the awful cop stuff, which feels a bit goofy and of a different style of movie. House on the Edge of the Park doesn't actually have great dialogue at all, and at times it does really muddy the water as to who you're supposed to be rooting for. And who you're supposed to feel sorry for, and do we want all these people to die? And it kind of holds that line right to very close to the end, and even when it lands, I don't necessarily think it fully gives you like a high five moment, rather a, oh right, well, I'm glad that bad guy got put down, but at the same time, what an elaborate way of taking justice into your own hands. Kind of feel like there were other ways that we could have done this that maybe didn't involve people being raped on screen. It's just a thought. It's just a thought. The score is wonderful, as you would expect for a movie of this want. And Ritz Ortoleone does an incredible job here scoring the movie. It also has like a wickedly quick pace. This is an hour and a half, and it really does fly in. We're not that long until we're at the house. And yes, it sets up a myriad of different ways to torment the characters and to acting in the way they do, but it never feels like it's kind of treading water or being pedestrian about it either. Those interactions are kind of laying a kind of seedy, thin line of justification, cause, consequence and result in a way which is really interesting to view. I suppose the biggest issue that someone might have watching House on the Edge of the Park, and maybe it doesn't affect me as much, although I do find it very uncomfortable to view nonetheless, is the level of sexual assault in the movie is pretty gruesome. And this is in a time period where and I was about to say something, I'm going to backtrack that a little bit. I was about to say this feels exploitative of women in that we get a lot of female nudity, a lot of like kind of panties being ripped off, and like full on vagina on screen, and a lot of kind of trauma to breasts and nipples, and you get no like male genitalia shots, which makes me sound like I'm looking for male genitalia shots, but I do believe there should be balance in the movie, and I kind of applaud a filmmaker who will actually do the balance of that fair. If a woman's having to get her kit off, let the guy get his kit off as well. And whilst I was about to throw that out there as a kind of Ruggiero Deodato should do better at that, you do forget that Cannibal Holocaust does have quite a lot of genital mutilation in it, even if it is fake. It looks real and your brain is tricked into thinking it's real. So he certainly is not a filmmaker who is purely doing this as an exploitative means to get his jollies off watching women be sexually assaulted on screen. He actually manages to kind of pick a time and a place for appropriateness. There's no surprise to me that this movie made it on the nasties list. It's like, this is the very definition of a video nasty. Extreme sexual violence. It opens with a rape and a murder. Like that to me is like even the laziest censor is probably putting this on the nasty list right in the first couple of minutes. Like, yep, on the list. And at times, I think this movie is just as disturbing, if not disturbing, than Last House on the Left. Last House on the Left is a superior movie overall, I think, because it holds that line between what could happen and what will happen a lot better than what House at the Edge of the Park does. Plus, that this movie in itself actually doesn't have any real likable characters. Even the reveal at the end when you've got Rhodesi's character acting in the way that he is, and the fashion of mercy that's even shown at the end of this movie, doesn't necessarily make me feel like I like any of these characters. And like I say, it does make me question the justice there within. Like when I'm watching Last House on the Left and I'm with the parents, I kind of want them to do what they do. I'm kind of rooting for them. In this movie, I don't know if I'm rooting for the kind of posh partygoers and their plight, even when I know what the actions and the causality of it is at the start. This release is kind of stunning though. I didn't know I needed a movie like this on 4K UHD if I'm honest, but watching it, it's incredibly clear and the print is kind of phenomenal. The special features, this one's loaded, and I love that about these sorts of releases from 88 Films, where they actually are like, yeah, let's just give it you all. The two separate commentaries are really, really interesting. The listeners out there will know that I very seldom check out a full commentary. Rather, what I'll do is, if it's a movie I've seen before, I'll switch on for 5 minutes intermittently over bits that I really kind of want to hear a bit of commentary over. And the kind of dueling commentaries were actually really, really cool, getting completely different insight by different perspectives. I love the fact that this has a all female commentary perspective as well, because you seldom get that on movies like this. When companies release it, it's usually from the male point of view, which I kind of feel like we get enough of. So I loved that aspect as well, and it was very interesting for what I heard. The featurettes themselves though are absolutely stunning. The poster artwork by Graham Humphreys, what can you say? Chef's kiss. Guy does it again. He just continually knocks things out the park. I suppose what it comes down to with a release like this is, are you prepared to spend the £25 that the title is being released as, to have it in this format? And that becomes a struggle for me. If you are a collector and you have the collection, then you're kind of going to get this one. I don't know if it's an early purchase though, and I don't know how limited this release will actually be in the format that it's in, which is also kind of a sticky wicket. It's a deeply unpleasant movie. Like it's like when people say, you know what I'm going to be doing this weekend? Watching a Serbian film. And you're like, really? Like, is that what you've decided? Is that how you want to spend your weekend? I'd also feel kind of similar with somebody who's like, you want to have spending my weekend? It's at the edge of the park. Yeah. It's not a feel-good movie by any stretch of the imagination. It's great for critical analysis and is great as a viewing point to tick off another movie by an important filmmaker from that part of the world, but it's like, I would be deeply suspicious of anyone that said that was in their top 3 movies ever made, and as a result it kind of makes it hard to recommend. It's definitely worth the money if you have a passing interest in the subject matter, and I will leave it at that. In terms of grades for this movie, I give this one a 4 out of 5. I really like it, which feels horrible saying that. I really like the movie in terms of a lot of what it does. Its subject matter is very kind of disconcerting and uncomfortable. Even more so as a father of 2 young girls. Like that sort of thing, I find my tolerance for kind of sexual violence on the screen is being weakened quite a bit. I think there's a lot of people that go through that, to be honest with you, but there's no taking away. It's an incredibly effective movie, and this release is really, 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 really well done and put together. So 88 Films, once again, proving in the Italian collection that they know how to hit things right, even if they don't consistently do it. A la Tentacles, the movie from the previous review, they've certainly done it right on this one. So yeah, there you go. That's us swung out another one of those Italian collection reviews. Thank you very much for checking out this episode. If you are checking it out on YouTube, we're putting out an episode every single day this month. We'll be doing a ton of fun, quirky content, and we're celebrating October, so please join it with us. Best way to do that is hit subscribe on this YouTube feed, and that way you'll get a little alert as and when we're dropping something every single day for you. If you're checking us out on Spotify, on the video format or audio format over there, or on Anchor, which is the hosting platform that we use, make sure you're subscribed over there as well, and that way you never miss a beat. If you're checking us out on any of the audio platforms that publish this podcast as well, just make sure you're subscribed there. Over 1,200 episodes on those feeds, so plenty of content to get you through this spooky month. Please visit our website, tputscast.com. Links are in the show notes as well. Podcast Under the Stairs will be back tomorrow for you with the kind of quirky, funny episode in which I will be reviewing a horror movie that I love, that in the 10 years of our podcast that we've been going, I've never reviewed before. So please check out that episode. Show me some love. Set up some dialogue in the comments below. And for the last time on this episode, I say, wherever you are, whatever the time zone is and whatever you're up to in this big bad world of ours, please take care of yourselves out there. This is Duncan McLeish broadcasting live from Under the Stairs, and I am signing off.